What happens when a player disappears from the game for 239 days? For most athletes, that kind of absence creates doubt, rust, hesitation. Timing slips, instincts dull, and even the best in the world need time to recalibrate. But what unfolded in Puerto Rico wasn't a story about rebuilding rhythm or easing back into competition. It was something far more shocking, far more definitive. It was the kind of return that doesn't just silence questions, it erases them completely. Caitlin Clark didn't come back to basketball to find her footing. She came back to take control. The setting felt almost surreal. A packed arena buzzing with anticipation. A Team USA roster filled with elite talent, and yet all eyes kept drifting toward the bench. Not the starters, not the established veterans, but the player who hadn't touched competitive basketball in nearly 8 months. There was a sense of curiosity in the air mixed with uncertainty. No one truly knew what to expect. Even the coaching staff approached her return cautiously, limiting her minutes, bringing her off the bench, treating her like a piece that needed careful reintegration. But from the moment she stepped onto the court, that entire narrative collapsed. The pace shifted instantly. The flow of the game bent in a different direction. Passes began arriving a fraction of a second earlier. Players found themselves open in places they hadn't been before, and the offense transformed into something far more dynamic, almost unpredictable. Within minutes, it became clear that this wasn't a player working her way back. This was a player who had been mentally locked in the entire time, waiting for the exact moment to unleash everything she had stored up. 19 minutes. That's all it took. In that brief window, Clark delivered a performance that most players couldn't replicate in a full game, let alone after a 239-day layoff. 17 points, 12 assists, 0 turnovers. A flawless command of the game that felt less like a comeback and more like a statement. And while those numbers alone would have been impressive, they were only the beginning. Because layered within that performance were multiple records falling one after another in rapid succession. By the time the final buzzer sounded on her debut, 7 international records had been rewritten. Not just for Team USA, not just for women's basketball. Across the entire scope of international play, including men's competition, across decades of history. Records that had stood untouched were suddenly replaced in less than 20 minutes of court time. And yet, strangely, the role didn't change. Despite that historic debut, Clark continued to come off the bench. Game after game, the pattern remained the same. Limited minutes, rotational appearances, a system that, on the surface, didn't fully revolve around her. But what made the situation remarkable was what happened within those constraints. Instead of slowing down, instead of fading into the background, she elevated even further. She led the entire tournament in assists. She led in efficiency. She led in plus-minus. Not just on Team USA, but across every country, every player, every roster in the qualifying field. And she did it while spending most of the tournament as a reserve. It created a strange contrast. On one hand, a player being managed within a system. On the other, a player completely outgrowing that system in real time. The turning point came when adjustments were finally made. When the offense began to flow through her more consistently, when lineups were structured to amplify her strengths, everything clicked into place. The game became faster, sharper, more fluid. Defensive schemes struggled to keep up. Spacing improved. Opportunities multiplied. And Team USA didn't just win, they dominated. But even before those adjustments, Clark had already done something extraordinary. She had proven that her impact wasn't dependent on ideal conditions. She could bend the game to her will regardless of role, regardless of minutes, regardless of expectations. As the tournament progressed, the records kept stacking. She surpassed the all-time assist record for a qualifying tournament, not by a narrow margin, but by a staggering leap that redefined what elite playmaking looks like at the international level. She became the youngest player ever to win tournament MVP, the first player in history to earn that honor in their senior national team debut, the first to do it while primarily Coming off the bench, each milestone added another layer to what was, quickly becoming one of the most remarkable tournament performances the sport had ever seen. But perhaps the most telling record wasn't found in a stat sheet. It was in the audience. The tournament drew the highest viewership ever recorded for a FIBA qualifying event. More eyes than ever before tuned in, not just to watch games, but to witness something bigger. A moment, a shift, a glimpse of what the sport could become at its highest level. Because Clark's return wasn't just about numbers. It was about attention, energy, momentum, the kind of presence that pulls people in, that makes casual viewers stop and watch. That turns a routine tournament into a global talking point. And by the end of those 7 days, the full picture came into focus. 14 records, 5 games, 7 days. A complete rewrite of expectations. What started as a cautious return from injury transformed into a defining moment for international basketball. It showed what happens when preparation meets opportunity, when confidence meets execution, and when a player refuses to ease back into anything. It also left behind something even more important to blueprint for Team USA. It revealed exactly how dangerous this roster can be when built around pace, movement, and Clark's ability to read the game in real time. For the Indiana Fever, it offered a glimpse into what the future could look like when the system fully embraces her strengths. And for the sport as a whole, it raised the ceiling of what's possible, both on the court and beyond it. Because this wasn't just a comeback, it was a declaration, a reminder that time away doesn't diminish greatness when the foundation is strong enough. That doubt can be erased in a single performance, and that sometimes the most powerful statements aren't made gradually, they arrive all at once. Impossible to ignore. Now the question isn't whether Caitlin Clark has proven herself on the international stage. That question has already been answered 14 times over. The real question is what comes next. Because if this is what she looks like after 239 days away, what happens when she's just getting started again? If you made it this far, I want to hear from you. What impressed you the most about this historic run? Was it the records, the efficiency, or the way she completely changed the game the moment she stepped on the court? Drop your thoughts below. And if you're excited to see what she does next with Team USA and the Indiana Fever, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter of this story.